and we're reading the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Mine says page 596, but that's a PDF, so I doubt that that's the same. But we're on the paragraph that starts, "Can you tell me why I'm so impatient?" And believe it or not, that's the master asking that question. So he says, he's asking about apparently breaking his arm was quite a thing for him because he couldn't figure out why mother did that to him. And, it's really kind of shaking him because it's really putting his mind on the body and becoming quite a challenge for him to deal with. And, he's been running around showing people and asking them, is it going to get better? Like a little kid, he's showing his arm off to all the devotees. And Rakal is trying to hide the fact that he's got a broken arm because there's this whole thing called karma that some traditional Hindus would be quite curious as to why a holy man has enough bad karma to break his arm. But that's why, Swami Prabhupada really makes that point that karma is not about what happens to you. It's about what you're able to do with what happens to you. If you've got good karma, you can turn bad things into gold. If you've got bad karma, bad things just become obstacles and take you down. And so that kind of helps with this. We don't now have to determine why Ramakrishna had enough bad karma to break an arm. So now he's wondering, can you tell me why I'm so impatient? And M says to him, well, your mind, sir, is always absorbed in samadhi, right? Meaning that your mind is always in God. And you have kept a fraction of it on your body for the welfare of the devotees. Therefore, you feel impatient now and then for your body's safety. So M's giving him his pointers since Ramakrishna asked. I'm sorry, my phone is ringing, but it's hidden across the room somewhere. Hopefully they'll stop in a second. So it's because your mind is normally in samadhi and now it's being pulled down into the body. Master, that is true. A little of the mind is attached to the body. It wants to enjoy the love of God and the company of devotees, right? So a little of the mind is attached to the body. Now, this is interesting that he says a little of the mind is attached to the body and not that he's attached to the body. So this is a very interesting thing here, that mind can be a thing separate from him as a divine incarnation, which is interesting to me. So a little of the mind is attached to the body. It wants to enjoy the love of God and the company of devotees, right? And that's how Ramakrishna stayed in the body, right? Is by having that little bit of desire there, that little bit of impurity or attachment that kept him in a body form so that he could talk to us, so that he could love us and teach us and show us what we are in our perfect form, in our highest, purest form. Mani Malik told the master about an exhibition that was being held in Calcutta. He described a beautiful image of Yashoda and the baby Krishna on her lap. Sri Ramakrishna's eyes filled with tears. Such a sweet nature, just thinking about baby Krishna. Brings that devotion right up, right there, just makes him weep on the spot. Manilal, if you were not unwell, you could visit the exhibition in the Mayadan. The master to M and the others. I shan't be able to see everything even if I go. Perhaps my eyes will fall on some certain thing and I shall become unconscious. Then I shall not be able to see the rest. I was taken to the zoological garden. I went into samadhi at the sight of the lion, for the carrier of the mother awakened in my mind the consciousness of the mother herself. In that state, who could see the other animals? I had to return home after seeing only the lion. Hence, Jadu Malik's mother first suggested that I should go to the exhibition, and then I said I should not. So, a very unique problem here. I can't go out because I keep going into samadhi. I can't go to the zoo because I can only see one animal, and then I get so inspired, my mind goes directly to God, and I'm gone. It's just he was so sensitive to that. Anything could put him into samadhi. Anything that pushed his mind toward the beloved, toward the divine, and he would just be gone. And so we're seeing here that it's quite a limitation for him, and he's frustrated by it because he wanted to see the other animals. He didn't just want to see the lions, you know. Where is that? Mani Malak, about 65 years old, had been a member of the Brahmo Samaj for many years, and Sri Ramakrishna gave him instruction that would agree with his mood. The master, Pandit Jainarayan, had very liberal views. I visited him once and liked his attitude, but his sons wore high boots. He told me he intended to go to Benares to live there, and at last he carried out his intention. For later on, he did live in Benares and die there. When one grows old, one should retire, like Jainarayan, and devote oneself to the thought of God. What do you say? Manilal, true, sir. I don't relish the worries of the troubles of the world. So this is very important advice to us as we get older. And I dare not say that any of you are getting older, but some of us are getting older, and this is the time in life. When you retire, it doesn't mean that you get to play as much desktop solitaire as you like. It's an opportunity for you to really think about it. Life gets shorter, and if you pay attention, that might be kind of difficult to deal with when you start realizing, oh my God, I'm 70, I've only got 10, 12, 15 years left. Oh, I'm 80, I've only got 5 or 10, or who knows how many years. But it's wrong thinking nonetheless, because none of us are guaranteed another day. So it doesn't matter in reality how old we are. But certainly as we get older, the odds are stacking up against us. It's coming time to accept the fact that this body is mortal, that it was never meant to last, and we need to start going about the business of letting it go, of being less concerned about it, and ceasing to make plans for it and to identify our future through it. Right? And so as we get older, we should start letting go, kind of undoing the buttons of the body, so that when it drops off, we're ready to let it go. We can just let it move on. And old age is perfect for practice in some sense, because what else are you going to do? You're not going to be out there on the soccer field, running around. You're not going to be playing hockey. So it's perfect time for sitting and contemplating the divine, for studying the scriptures to keep our minds on holy things that lift our mind upward. And so Ramakrishna is telling us, that when one grows old, one should retire. And by retirement, he means, well, what retirement is, but in a specific way. We retire from things of the world to spend more time working on our inner world, working on our inner experience of being. So Manilal agrees, I don't relish the worries and troubles of the world. Then the master says, Gauri used to worship his wife with the offerings of flowers. All women are manifestations of the Divine Mother. To Manilal, please tell them that little story of yours. So Manilal smiling. Well, once several men were crossing the Ganges in a boat. One of them, a pundit, was making a great display of his erudition, means his knowledge, saying that he had studied various books, the Vedas and the Vedanta and the 6 systems of philosophy. He asked a fellow passenger, do you know the Vedanta? No, revered sir, said the Samkhya. No, revered sir. Well, do you know the Samkhya and the Patanjali? No, revered sir. Well, have you read no philosophy whatsoever? No, revered sir. The pundit was talking in this vain way, and the passenger was sitting in silence. When a great storm arose and the boat was about to sink, the passenger said to the pundit, Sir, can you swim? No, replied the pundit. The passenger said, Well, I don't know about the Sankhya and the Patanjala, but I can swim. Master smiling. What will a man gain by knowing many scriptures? The one thing needful is to know how to cross the river of the world. God alone is real, and all else is illusory. Right? That's the one thing necessary to know. And by illusory, he doesn't mean there's nothing there. He just means that what's there is not what you think is there, not what your senses and mind are describing to you. That is not what's really there. You're looking at a singularity, but you can't see the singularity because your five senses are only taking the part that is meaningful to them. You know, your eye is taking the light, your body's taking the touch, your ears are taking the sound waves, all of that. And so you're breaking this singularity into five different pieces. And so you can't really see what it is. So he's saying, what is the one most important thing? It's to remember this. The unchanging alone is what is real. And if you can find that in yourself and establish yourself in it, you will find your freedom. You will find your illumination. You'll find your understanding and your fearlessness. What will a man gain by knowing many scriptures, right? We've talked about it. The answer is not in the head. It's not a philosophy or a system of thought or the doctrines or the dogmas. The one thing needful is to know how to cross the river of the world, how to control yourself, right? How to concentrate. God alone is real, and all else is illusory. While Arjuna was aiming his arrow at the eye of the bird, Drona asked him, "What do you see? Do you see these kings?" "No, sir," replied Arjuna. "Do you see me?" "No." "Do you see the tree?" "No." "The bird in the tree?" "No." "Well, what do you see then?" "I see only the eye of the bird." Right? So what is this saying? This is talking about the intense amount of focus that we should have in our practice. We should, especially in our old age, which is what he's specifically talking about. We should not be distracted, right? You know, going on cruises and all of that is very nice, and that seems like the norm for old people, but it's not. What is there in all of that? How much do we have to titillate our senses before we understand that they don't give us what we're asking for? That nothing lasts, right? Cruise is nice for 7 days, but what happens when it's over? Then misery comes because the cruise is finished. And now you have to start planning the next one. So that will distract you even more from the moment, this golden moment of yours. Right? So be focused. Pull yourself together. This is very important. This is not about religion. This is not about, an aspect of life. This is about you and what you are and your fearlessness, your freedom, your confidence, your love. He sees only the eye of the bird. He who sees only the eye of the bird can hit the mark. He alone is clever who sees that God is real and that everything else is illusory. What need have I of other information? Hanuman once remarked, "I don't know anything about the phase of the moon or the positions of the stars. I only contemplate Rama." To M, please buy a few fans for our use here. There's a little bit of a little chunk of irony. He's giving this very focused talk about and telling the story about Rama, and then he just does an aside. "Hey, can you get some fans for us?"
It's kind of almost like a Zen answer,
It is. The whole scenario, yeah, is definitely. It kind of does and undoes at the same time. It's wonderful. "Please buy a few fans for us to use here." To Manilal, "Look here, pay a visit to his," meaning M's father. "The sight of a devotee will inspire you." To M, "Since my arm was injured, a deep change has come over me. I now delight only in Naralila, the human manifestation of God." Well, that would be interesting because the mind would bring your mind to the body mind, to the human condition. And so now that he's had this deep injury, he says, this change is coming over me. I now delight only in the Nara Lila, the human manifestation of God, God as a person. Nitya and Lila. The Nitya is the indivisible Satchit Ananda, and the Lila, or sport, takes various forms, such as the Lila as God, the Lila as deities, the Lila as man, and the Lila as the universe. Right? So this Lila involves all different levels. And Lila is that play of God, this sporting of God. Vaishnav Charan used to say that one has attained perfect knowledge if one believes in God sporting as man. Right? So if you can see God when you look at people, then you have attained perfect knowledge. I wouldn't admit it then, but now I realize that he was right. Vaishnav Charan liked pictures of man expressing tenderness and love. Tamanilal. It is God himself who is sporting in the form of man. It is he alone who has become Mani Malik. The Sikhs teach, thou art Satchit Ananda. Now and then man catches a glimpse of his real self and becomes speechless with wonder. At such times he swims in an ocean of joy. It is like suddenly meeting a dear relative. To M. The other day I was coming here in a carriage. I felt like that at the sight of Babaram. When Shiva realizes his own self, he dances about in joy, exclaiming, what am I? What am I? Well, there's interesting. That's a very interesting little sentence right there. Look at that. When Shiva, the divine, realizes his own self. So here we've got Shiva in a state of ignorance. That's a rather interesting thing to look at. When Shiva realizes his own self, then he dances about in joy, exclaiming, what am I? What am I? Right? He's seen it, but it can't be put into words. There's just an exclamation. He's seen what he is. He's like, oh, what am I? What an amazing vision. The same thing has been described in the Adhyatma Ramayana. Narada said, O Rama, all men are thy forms, and it is Sita who has become all women. Right? So the Lord has become all of us. On looking at the actors in the Ram Leela, I felt that Narayan himself had taken these human forms. The genuine and the imitation appeared to be the same. Why do people worship virgins? All women are so many forms of the Divine Mother, but her manifestation is greatest in pure-souled virgins. To M, and that's for everybody, I would imagine. To M, why do I become impatient when I'm ill? Because the mother has placed me in the state of a child. The child depends entirely on its mother. The child of the maidservant, when he quarrels with the child of the master, says, I'm going to tell my mother. I was taken to Radha Bazar to be photographed. It had been arranged that I should go to Rajendra Mitra's house that day. I heard that Keshav would be there. I planned to tell them certain things, but I forgot it all when I went to Radha Bazar. I said, O mother, thou wilt speak. What shall I say? I have not the nature of a Gyani. He considers himself great, he says. What? How can I be ill? Kawar Singh used to say to me, you still worry about your body. But it is my nature to believe that my mother knows everything. It is she who would speak at Rajendra Mitra's house. Hers are the only effective words. One ray of light from the goddess of wisdom stuns 1,000 scholars. The mother has kept me in the state of a bhakta, a devotee, a lover of God, a vijnani, right, a knower. That is why I joke with Rakal and the others. Had I been in the condition of a Gyani, I couldn't do that. In this state, I realize that it is the mother alone who has become everything. I see her everywhere. In the Kali temple, I found that the mother herself had become everything, even the wicked, even the brother of Bhagavat Pandit. Once I was about to scold Ramlal's mother, but I had to restrain myself. I saw her to be a form of the Divine Mother. I worship virgins because I see in them the Divine Mother. My wife strokes my feet, but I salute her afterwards. You salute me by touching my feet, but had Hriday been here, who would have dared to touch them? He wouldn't have allowed anyone to do it. I have to return your salutes because the Mother has placed me in the state in which I see God in everything. You see, one cannot exclude even a wicked person. A tulsi leaf, however dry or small, can be used for worship in the temple. Some very, very beautiful things in there. This notion of the Mother putting us in different states of mind. So it's not like one state of mind describes a holy person. You know, Ramakrishna saying, if I was in a Jnani state, you know, he always used to say that was such a dry state. There's not much emotion there. There's lots of knowledge, lots of sobriety, lots of self-discipline, and lots of concentration. Not a whole lot of music and dancing for the Jnani. But Mother's holding him in the state of prema, or as a bhakta, as a child, you know, and so he's able to play. So it's okay for him, you know, to play and to tell jokes and to goof around. Because he sees he's just completely dependent on the Mother. He doesn't have a care in the world. And this beautiful state of seeing God in everything. Wow. You know, sometimes you just get that little bit of a sense of God's presence and you feel such a welling up of love. Just imagine, you know, to see that everywhere, to be constantly in that state, to be seeing God everywhere you're looking. And that love would just keep welling and welling and welling until, of course, like Ramakrishna, you're just overcome by it. You go into that state of ecstasy, samadhi, where it becomes the singular thought within the self. You know, the mind is completely flowing toward God at that point. I see God in everything. You see, I cannot exclude even a wicked person. A tulsi leaf, however dry or small, can be used for worship in the temple. Right? And there's a very beautiful promise to you. No matter what you've been through, no matter what you know yourself to be guilty of, you can worship in the temple because your value comes from Satchitananda, comes from the presence of the divine within you. That is what you are. And so we can always approach God. We can always have that confidence in grace. We can always have that confidence in that love. We do not need to hide and shun. Sunday, March 2nd, 1884. Sri Ramakrishna was sitting on a small couch in his room, listening to devotional music by Trailokya Sanyal of the Brahmo Samaj. He had not yet recovered from the effects of the injury to his arm, which was still supported by a splint. Many devotees, including Narendra, Surendra, and M, were sitting on the floor. Narendra's father, a lawyer of the High Court of Calcutta, had passed away suddenly. He had not been able to make provisions for the family, which consequently faced a grave financial difficulty. The members of the family sometimes had to go without food. Narendra was therefore passing his days in great anxiety. Trailokya sang about the Divine Mother. O Mother, I hide myself in your loving bosom. I gaze at your face and cry out, Mother, Mother. I sink in the sea of bliss and am lost to sense. In yoga sleep, I gaze with unwinking eyes upon your face, powerless to turn away. O Mother, I am terrified by this world. My spirit trembles and cries out in fear. Keep me, sweet Mother, in your loving bosom. Cover me with the spreading skirt of your love. The master shed tears of love and cried out, Ah, me, ah, me. Trailokya sang again, O Lord, destroyer of my shame, who but yourself can save the honor of your devotee? You are the ruler of my soul, my very life's support, and I am your slave forevermore. Look at this wonderful refuge, these qualities that he's holding on to. I hide myself in your loving bosom. You know, I don't know if you have a memory. Do you ever remember burying your head in your mother's crook of your mother's arm, your mother's bosom like that as a child? I have one very specific memory about that. And it's so conducive to filling this image in for me. I remember my mother had a silk shirt on that had all these little paisleys, purple and green and red and blue paisleys, just thousands of them all over it. And she was holding me in her arms. We were at the grocery store and we were in line. And some guy that worked in my dad's office, that was on base, came up and started talking to my mother. And my mother was trying to introduce me, but I didn't like this guy at all. I didn't feel safe at all with him there. And I was just literally doing exactly this, burying my face in the crook of my mother's arm. And I felt so safe and so secure, even though that guy was standing right there. I just felt so safe, hiding in my mother like that. So you can just see this. I hide myself in your loving bosom. I gaze at your face and I cry out, Mom, Mother. Just you recognize, and there's nothing but love in you for that. I sink in the sea of bliss and I'm lost to sense. This is how it goes. This is what happens. We look at the Divine Mother's face, we fall into our love and go into samadhi. Everything shorts out. We're just overwhelmed with the love that is there. In yoga sleep, which means this sleep when the world has gone away, the world has dropped to second place. In yoga sleep, I gaze with unwinking eyes, right? That's the eye of the inner eye, the eye that sees the light of consciousness. I gaze with unwinking eyes upon your face, powerless to turn away, just charmed, just absolutely charmed. I'm terrified by this world. We all are terrified of this world. That's why we built an ego, right? We build our ego because we don't take refuge in God. We don't have that faith that we're safe in God. And so we take refuge in our lower self. We take refuge in egoism. And egoism creates this buffer of definition around us, things that are bite-sized and that we believe we can that we can control. We can control. Yeah. Right? And so we surround ourselves with wrong thinking by creating a world that we're in charge of, that we're safe in, right? But it's unreal. There's nothing there. And so we need to undo that egoism. We need to surrender this fake fortress that we've put around us and obey God, where she says very clearly, take refuge only in me, right? Take refuge here within the heart. Know that I'm in here and know that I'm in charge, that I've got everything under control. And come here and surrender. Come here and let go. I'm terrified by this world. My spirit trembles and cries out in fear. Keep me, sweet mother, in your loving bosom. Cover me with that spreading skirt of your love. You can just see one of those big billowy skirts there. Trilokya sang again. And this one, look at the beauty of this. O Lord, what is the Lord to him? The destroyer of my shame. Just blows it up, eliminates it, just blows it right out of the water. It's not something you have to deal with. You walk in there with all of your shame and you just surrender. You just lay it all out and just accept it, understand. Yes, that is the egoism. That is ignorance. And you let it go and Mother will just kaboom. Gone, wipe out your shame. Who but you can save the honor of your devotee, right? Because our only honor is God, the presence of God within us. That's our only honor. Nothing we say, do, or think we've accomplished, those things all die with the body and mind. Our honor comes from the fact that God rides us, that we are the chariot of the divine. So we are respected by association, not because of anything that we do or say. You are the ruler of my soul, right? It's the only way you can say that is if you've surrendered to God. You are the ruler of my soul, my very life's support, and I am your slave forevermore, meaning I live to serve you. You have filled me up so much. You look at the Holy Mother, she said that she lived in bliss behind that screen all the time. right? And in that bliss, she just served everyone constantly. She lived for that. She lived to serve God and all of her children, and just was completely given to that task. He continued, seeking a shelter at your feet, I have forever set aside my pride of caste and race, O Lord. Right? So seeking that shelter, running to you, I have forever set aside my pride of caste. That's the pride of accomplishment, the pride of family, the pride of name and fame. My caste and my race, O Lord. I turned my back on fear and shame, right? Put them behind me. I just no longer acknowledge them. A lonely pilgrim on life's way, where shall I go for succor now? For your sake, Lord, I bear men's blame. They rail at me with bitter words and hate me for my love of you. Both friends and strangers use me ill. You are the guardian of my name. You may save or slay me, Lord. Upon the honor of your servant rests, O Lord, your name as well. You are the ruler of my soul, the glow of love within my heart. Do with me as it pleases you. This is the importance of practice, you know. You have to spend time around the divine to develop this kind of trust. You have to spend some time really getting to know the presence in order to have this kind of willingness to take refuge, to believe in this level of safety, this level of fearlessness. Once more, he's saying, Lord, you have taken me from home and made me captive with your love. Shield me forever at your feet, O you, thou beloved one. Upon the nectar of your love, feed me both day and night. I want the love. That's all. Just love, 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 love. Upon the nectar of your love, feed me both day and night, and save Premdas, who is your slave. The master again shed tears of joy. He sang some lines from the song of Ram Prasad. Glory and shame, bitter and sweet, are yours alone. This world is nothing but your play. Then why, O blissful one, do you cause a rift in it? Right, this play. What is the rift? Well, the rift, you always need a conflict for a story. If you're going to have a play, you need to have a conflict. You need to have a problem. And so the singer here is just asking why. What's the point of all of this, of these problems, these make-believes, these illusions? Addressing Trilokya, the master said, ah, how touching your songs are. They're genuine, right? They're sincere. There's something beautiful. I'm moved when you sing them. Only he who has gone to the ocean can fetch its water, right? So he's saying, I can tell by the sincerity in your sweet singing that you've been there. I can tell that you've seen what I've seen. Trilokya sang again. You it is that dance, O Lord, and you that sings the song. You it is that clap your hands in time with the music's beat. But man who is an onlooker only foolishly thinks it is he. Right? So he's describing our problem. It's God alone who lives in us. There is no us. Right? God alone has become us. Though but a puppet, man becomes a god if he moves with thee. Right? If we move with God, then we become God in that sense. It's like we resign all of our contrary will. We resign all of our contrary thinking. We surrender to our highest ideal, which is our highest thoughts. And in that we become a puppet to the divine, because the highest thought is God's thought. Highest mind is God's mind. So we become a puppet in the hands of the divine. As the divine moves, so we move. And, in that state, that's like Ramakrishna in that state. He has become a hole through which God is seen, because he has resigned all particular thinking, all thinking that contains me or mine in it. and he moves only where God moves him, says only what the mother says through him. There is nothing there but truth. You are the mover of the machine, the driver of the car, but man is weighted down with woe, dreaming that he is free. You are the root of everything, you, the soul of our soul. You are the master of our heart. Through your unbounded grace, you turn even the meanest sinner into the mightiest saint. There it is, your promise. This is what he's doing to you tonight. At every moment, he's taking you, the meanest sinner, and turning you into the mightiest saint. So take that on as your identity. You're not weak. You're not a bad meditator. It's not that you have problems concentrating. No, you're the mightiest of saints trying to crack its way out of an egg. The singing came to an end. The master engaged in conversation with the devotees. Master, God alone is the master. And again, he is the servant. This attitude indicates perfect knowledge, right? Knowing, because egoism is the sense of doership. Egoism is you believing that you're separate and apart from God, and that you are the source of your own thoughts, and that you are the source of your own body. That's egoism. And so he's saying that this attitude of perfect knowledge means that you know that you are neither that God alone is the master, and again, God alone is the servant. So God has become everything. You are merely the observer of the play. You don't have a part in it. You're just observing. You're just aware of the play. Perfect knowledge. At first, one discriminates, not this, and feels that God alone is real and all else is illusory, right? So when you're sitting there doing that meditation and you're focusing inside, if something occurs to you, you ask, does it change or is it unchanging? If it changes, you just discard it, you let it go. And you just keep feeling around in here, putting out feelers. Where is the unchanging? And you can't find it because you are it. The one who's looking for it is the one who is it. And so you start to use all of these distracting things, all of these changing things to indicate the unchanging watcher, right? So that's how you use your troubles to create strength in yourself. Use the fact that the mind is noisy and out of control to indicate the fact that you know that it's noisy and out of control because you yourself are silent and in absolute control. Right? So allow the conditions of body, mind, and the world to point at that which is unchanging within you, that needs to be unchanging within you in order to see the change, right? And so that witness that you are is absolutely unmoving. That is why it can see all of the changing. No matter what the nature of the changing is, it can see it. So at first one discerns, not this, not this. That's just going and looking at anything that changes is not you. The body's not me. Okay, so let's put that aside. This thought of anger is not me. This thought about my family, that's not me. This thought about my job, no, that has nothing to do with me. So you just sit there, just nope. If it changes, it's not real. It's not real. It just isn't real. And feels that God alone is real and everything else is illusory, right? So the deeper in you go, the more in communion you are, the more surrounded by the presence you are, because you're sorting out that everything God has become all of this. And you're starting to pay more attention to the God in things than you're paying to the things that contain God, right? Afterward, the same person finds that it is God himself who has become all of this, the universe, Maya, the living beings, first negation and then affirmation. This is the view held by the Puranas, right? So at first, no, I'm not this, I'm not this, I'm not this. And when we've really backed that up into a silence, when we've really achieved a detached silence within, then the process reverses. We begin to see God in everything. We begin to realize that there was nothing that wasn't divine in it. A vilwa fruit, for instance, includes flesh, seeds, and shell. You get the flesh by discarding the shell and seeds. But if you want to know the weight of the whole fruit, you cannot find it if you have discarded the shell and the seeds. Just so, one should attain Satchitananda by negating the universe and its living beings, right? When we're trying to detach, which is what he's talking about there, as we're going through the process of discernment, right? That we separate ourselves from these things. We break our attachment, our identity with them. And through that breaking of that attachment to all these things, we become aware through the silence that is produced from that of what we really are. And once we know that, by focusing on that, by living in that, by being in communion with that, we begin to see that is everywhere. That is the thing that is creating objects and showing objects. That is the thing that's telling the stories and all the narratives that we're getting involved in. But after the attainment of Satchitananda, one finds that Satchitananda itself has become the universe and the living beings. It is of one substance that the flesh and the shell and the seeds are made, just like butter and buttermilk, right? And this is just, again, I think the best way to understand this is to go into a dream. Imagine you had a dream of a tugboat on a bay and a mountain, right? The tugboat, the bay, and the mountain in your dream are all made of the same substance, but they will look like water, and they will look like a boat, and they will look like a mountain, right? And even if you go up close in your dream and pick that water up and look at it, you can look at it and it's water. You could take it into your dream laboratory and you would see H2O. It would be water all the way down for you. But in fact, it is not water. It is the consciousness, in the form of water. And it's just like that with everything in your dream. You can climb that mountain, and that mountain will be a mountain for you. You'll be able to pick up the dirt. You'll be able to see the flowers. You'll be able to pick the grass. It will be there. And if you study the rocks, there'll be geology. There'll be stories behind it. But is that the truth of a dream mountain? No. The dream mountain is made of dream substance, mind stuff, consciousness, right? So this is what he's saying. You will then find that everything is its manifestation. It is God alone who has become everything. The world by no means exists apart from him, right? If God withdraws his existence, we cease to exist. If he withdraws his perfect love, we cease to exist. If he withdraws his perfect being, we cease to exist. All elements finally merge in Akasha. Again, at the time of creation, Akasha evolves into Mahat, and Mahat into Ahamkara. In this way, the whole world system is evolved. It is the process of involution and evolution, right? Process of involution and evolution. Yes, this is the process. One could say, potentially, if you allow me, we could talk about it, but the process of involution and the process of evolution, going into ignorance and coming out of ignorance. Involution means, going in. That's avidya, right? And evolution, that which is bringing us out, vidya, the light, right? A devotee of God accepts everything. He accepts the universe and its created beings as well as the indivisible Satchitananda. But the yogi's path is different, the Jnani. He does not come back after reaching the Paramatman, the Supreme Soul. He becomes united with it. The partial knower limits God to one object only. He thinks that God cannot exist in anything beyond that. There are three classes of devotees. The lowest one says, God is up there. That is, he points to heaven. The mediocre devotee says that God dwells in the heart as the inner controller. But the highest devotee says, God alone has become everything, all that we perceive in so many forms of God. Narendra used to make fun of me and say, yes, God has become all. Then a pot is God, the cup is God. Everybody laughs. All doubts disappear when one sees God, though. When you come to know the reality of this, and it's all seeable if you start paying attention. The only reason that none of us are seeing this, and I presume that certainly some of us have seen something, but the only reason we don't see this, is because we're not paying attention. We're listening to our long told stories from the mind that describes the world to us through the senses. We haven't found the silence where we can sit and know without being told. And so all of these things are obvious things. They are things that are experienceable and seeable and knowable in that sense, right? We can see that we're not the body. We can see that we're not the mind. We can see that we are immortal. We can see these things once we go inside and become aware and quiet the stories of the mind. All doubt disappears when one sees God. It is one thing to hear God, but quite a different thing to see him. A man cannot have 100% conviction through mere hearing, but if he beholds God face to face, then he is wholly convinced, right? And this too is achievable. Formal worship drops away after the vision of God. It is thus that my worship in the temple came to an end. I used to worship the deity in the Kali temple. It was suddenly revealed to me that everything is pure spirit, right? Everything is pure spirit. Not just spirit. Why? Because you can have an impure spirit. You can have attached spirits, supposedly. That's how we see our souls as being separate, right? But pure spirit is the knowledge that all souls are a single soul, right? Because there is no me and mine. And that's purity. That's the pure soul, the pure spirit. No me and mine, no particularization, no separation. Everything is pure spirit. The utensils of worship, the altar, the door frame, all pure spirit. Men, animals, living beings, all pure spirit. Then, like a madman, I began to shower flowers in all directions. Whatever I saw, I worshipped. Right? Can you imagine the ecstasy of that? Seeing pure love everywhere you looked, knowing that God is everywhere around you, accepting your worship, and you just dance and throw flowers. Laughing and laughing. I told that story about Swami Asitananda, and he was an old monk in Olima. And when I first met him, we didn't get along real well. I was quite the challenge to him in those early years. And then in his final years, he got Alzheimer's for sure. And also he just sat in bliss in that back room. But before, when he was still mobile, he used to every morning go out and pick vinca flowers for the shrine on his dresser. And as he grew older, we started noticing that there started turning up all these little piles of offered vinca on the mechanic's bench, on the top shelf of the refrigerator, on the chair that Vamukta would sit in to greet visitors, on the back bench by the paint counter. Just all of a sudden, he started not worshiping just at his shrine on the desk. All of a sudden, he was worshiping and leaving vinca flowers as offering all over the place. So this is what happens to us as we grow inside. We'll more and more become aware of truth, of what is, through this discernment. and we'll just see that everything is a shrine. Every action is a worship, right? Is a prayer. Whatever I saw, I worshipped. One day while worshiping Shiva, right? One day when I was worshiping Shiva, I was about to offer a bell leaf on the head of the image when it was revealed to me that this Virat, this universe itself, is Shiva. After that, my worship of Shiva through the image came to an end. Another day, I had been plucking flowers when it was revealed to me that the flowering plants also were so many bouquets. Trilokya, how beautiful is God's creation. Master, oh no, it is not that, right? I'm not seeing beautiful things. That's not what I'm talking about. It was revealed to me in a flash. I didn't calculate about it. It wasn't a thought or a thinking. It wasn't a description. It was shown to me that each plant was a bouquet adorning the universal form of God. See, what he's talking about here is that knowledge that comes in through the back door. You know, we're used to knowledge coming through thought and coming and being instigated by sensual manipulation, right? That's normally how we see that we learn new things. But this shown to me thing here is not like God is showing flashcards. He's not coming in through the same gates as let's call it secular knowledge. That's not what he's talking about here. It's when he says God is revealed to me, the sensation of that is that you come to a knowing that feels like it has always been a part of you and you've never noticed it before. And you know everything about it. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to study it. You don't have to do the bullet points. When something is revealed or shown to you by mother, it's dropped in its entirety. And the feeling is that you've always known this. It has always been a part of you. You just have never seen it before. You're noticing it for the first time. And so it's why he's saying when Trilokya is saying, oh, how beautiful is the creation, he's thinking it's a sensual experience. And Ramakrishna is being shown these things and that the beauty that he's seeing is God, you know, like the majesty of the mountain. Oh, look how beautiful God is. But it's not like that. It's not through the front doors. This is a knowing. This is the isness. This is the chit of Satchitananda, that which is inherent to you. It was shown to me that each plant was a bouquet adorning the universal form of God. That was the end of my plucking flowers. I look on man in just the same way. When I see a man, I see that it is God himself who walks on earth, as it were, rocking to and fro, like a pillow floating on the waves. The pillow moves with the waves. It bobs up and down. Right? So this is a way of approaching non-doership right here. To understand that you move in this world, that you are the wheel of samsara, the wheel that rolls your karma involving your body-mind, is separate from you. It has nothing to do with you. It's only through your attachment that you suffer karma. You attach to that karma because you think you are responsible, because you think you were the doer. But in this state, it's the absolute knowing, I'm not a doer, right? God has become this body as well as all the other bodies. God is the one who's walking and swaying and doing all of this, and I'm simply observing all of that. And when you know yourself to be the observer, there is no karma created. That's how a realized soul can always act perfectly in the moment, because he has no separate thought from God. He knows his nature, and he knows this and the divine to be one. So there's no wrong step possible for him. The body has indeed only a momentary existence. God alone is real, right? So he's making sure you know the body is one of those changing things that's unreal. So don't plan on camping out in it too much more than 80 or so years, you know. The body indeed is only a momentary existence. God alone is real. Now the body exists, and now it does not. Years ago, when I had been suffering terribly from indigestion, Hride said to me, "Do ask the mother to cure you." I felt ashamed to speak to her about my illness. I said to her, Mother, I saw a skeleton in the Asiatic Society Museum. It was pieced together with wires into the human form. Mother, please keep my body together a little like that so that I can sing with your name and your glories. So wire, just keep me held together, not so that I can enjoy, so that I can sing your glories and your wonders, so that I can enjoy that which is real, that which is always enjoyable, that I might be absorbed into that limitless love, that I might dive and jump, fall into that infinite wisdom, do the one thing that is truly living, and that is to recognize God. Why this desire to live? After Ravana's death, Rama and Lakshmana entered his capital and saw Nikasha, his old mother, running away. Lakshmana was surprised at this and said to Rama, all her children are dead, but still life attracts her so much. Rama called Nikasha to his side and said, don't be afraid. Why are you running away? She replied, Rama, it was not for fear that made me flee from you. I have been able to see all these wondrous actions of yours simply because I'm alive. I shall see many more things like these if I continue to live. Hence, I desire to live. Without desires, the body cannot live. Smiling. I had one or two desires. Me too, Ramakrishna. I think I had one or two in there somewhere. I too had one or two desires. I prayed to the mother, Mother, give me the company of those who have renounced lust and greed. I said further, I should like to enjoy the society of your Gyanis and your Bhaktas, your knowers and your lovers. So give me a little strength that I may walk hither and thither and visit those people. But she did not give me the strength to walk. She had other plans. All right. We'll stop there for this week.